I'm about to say something bold. Every protagonist you've ever loved, every single one, fits into just 8 categories. And once you know these categories, you'll never struggle with your protagonist again. Let me show you why. Characters are the emotional core of storytelling. At their heart, they embody the emotions, conflicts, and desires that bring stories to life. Through their choices, relationships, and transformations, they reflect humanity in a way that's deeply personal. They don't just exist in your story, they are your story. When you think about it, every great story you've ever loved is rooted in character. It's through characters that we experience the stakes, conflicts, and resolutions of a narrative. Without them, your plot might be clever, your world building stunning, but the story itself, it falls flat. Why? Because it's the characters who make those abstract ideas tangible, connecting your audience to the heart of your story. So, given how important character is, it only makes sense to put an extra amount of care into your protagonist. After all, they are the audience's entry point, the anchor for emotional investment, conflict, and resolution. A protagonist isn't just the person your story revolves around. They're the lens through which your audience experiences the journey. Their desire gives the story purpose. Their choices drive the plot. And their struggles create the stakes. Whether they transform, remain steadfast, or even fall, the protagonist is the vehicle for your story's meaning. They make your story not just engaging, but relatable. Tapping into that power, however, can be hard for a lot of writers. We've all been there, staring at a character that feels flat, bland, or just plain confusing. Then you go looking for advice, and suddenly, you're drowning in hundreds of different archetypes, tropes, and conflicting theories. It's overwhelming. That's why so many writers end up with protagonists who feel more like placeholders than people. They get lost in trying to make their protagonist relatable or unique, that they either forget or never learn that what makes a protagonist work isn't just personality, it's their role in the story. That's why I created the 8 Universal Protagonists. They aren't random archetypes, they're narrative roles. They're the distilled essence of every protagonist you've ever loved, built on the universal conflicts that drive all stories. Once you understand these 8, you'll never be stuck wondering questions like, what kind of story should I tell with this character? How do I write them in a way that resonates? Or even, why does this character feel off? These roles give you clarity, not just about who your protagonist is, but about the kind of narrative they're made for. So, for example, with this framework, you won't waste time puzzling over questions like, how do you write Superman? He's too strong. Instead, you'd go, Superman is a savior archetype. That means he works best in stories that center around rescue, sacrifice, and the moral and emotional weight of responsibility. And then, with that knowledge, you'd go, okay, to write Superman in an interesting way, here's what I need to put him in. 1. Rescue missions. Classic high-stakes stories where failure isn't an option. 2. Moral dilemmas, like choosing who to save when he can't save everyone or questioning if his efforts are enough. 3. Exploring the cost of altruism, the emotional and mental toll saving others takes on him and the strain it puts on his relationships. And 4. What happens when selflessness becomes self-destructive? When Superman's drive to protect everyone pushes him to his breaking point. You'd be able to brainstorm scenarios instantly. Here, let me give you 5 off the top of my head. The impossible rescue, where the odds are stacked against him. The unsavable, when no amount of effort can save someone. Conflicting loyalties, forcing him to choose between 2 equally important lives. The backfire, where his attempts to help worsens the situation. And rescuing the enemy, when he's forced to protect someone he despises. Each of these scenarios pushes the selflessness and resilience that defines the savior archetype, creating compelling conflicts and emotional depth. That, to note, is just a taste of what you can do if you're aware of these 8 archetypes. So, if you're curious to learn more about them, first, press the like button to show your support for this channel, and second, get comfortable since I'm going to introduce you to all 8. Let's start with the archetype that we're all wired to understand, the survivor. When everything is on the line, when failure isn't an option, the survivor is the one who endures. Their story thrives in high-stakes situations, whether it's survival horror, post-apocalyptic worlds, or personal battles against impossible odds. But surviving often comes at a cost. Think of Senku from Dr. Stone. Survival for him isn't about pure brute strength. It's his unyielding intellect and love for science that allows him to rebuild a shattered world. Then there's Josuke from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Part 4. He's not chasing glory or adventure. He just wants to protect his small town and the people he cares about, navigating bizarre dangers along the way. And Joel from The Last of Us? His survival isn't just physical. It's emotional, a raw and painful endurance shaped by loss and an aching need to hold on to what little remains of his humanity. The survivor is relatable because we've all been in situations where we had to dig deep to keep going. Writing a survivor means asking, what's the cost of survival? And how does their choices reflect their humanity? Now, survival is one thing, but what about when the goal isn't staying alive? It's achieving something greater. That's where the seeker comes in. The seeker is the protagonist chasing a tangible goal. They're the treasure hunter, the dreamer, the one who's always looking towards the horizon. Seekers thrive in adventure stories, quests, and mysteries. Narratives built around discovery and pursuit. Nathan Drake from Uncharted embodies the seeker's spirit of adventure and discovery. He dives headfirst into danger, driven by the allure of history's greatest treasures. Edward and Alphonse Elric in Fullmetal Alchemist brings a different tone to this archetype. Their quest to restore their bodies is a relentless pursuit of redemption. And then there's Monkey D. Luffy from One Piece, whose unwavering belief in his dream to find the One Piece inspires his crew and drives his world-spanning journey. Writing a seeker is about clarity. What's their ultimate goal? How do the challenges they face force them to grow or adapt? And perhaps more importantly, is the goal worth the sacrifices made along the way? Now, some characters seek treasure, glory, or answers, but for others, the ultimate pursuit is connection. Enter the lover. The lover is all about connection, romance, intimacy, or belonging. These protagonists thrive in stories where relationships take center stage, and the stakes revolve around the people they care about most. Take Yanagi and Kojo in Last Game. Their rivalry turned romances built on breaking down walls, both emotional and personal. In Dandadan, Ken Takakura and Momo Ayase bring a chaotic energy to their connection, where shared supernatural battles evolve into something unexpectedly heartfelt. And in Kaito Saint Tail, Meimei and Asakura Jr.'s cat and mouse dynamic transforms into a tender romance, showing that even opposing roles can't stop love from taking root. Writing a lover means exploring emotional tension. What challenges force them to grow closer or apart? What does love mean in the context of your story? While lovers are all about connection, champions fight for something bigger, for ideals, justice, or the greater good. The champion is the fighter, the one who stands against oppression, corruption, or evil. They thrive in stories where the stakes are larger than life, and the cost of their fight often comes at a personal level. Samurai Jack's story is one of discipline and unshakable resolve, as he fights to undo the evil that destroyed his world. Dante from Devil May Cry, meanwhile, approaches his fight with a flair for rebellion and style, using his swagger as much as his sword to stand against demonic forces. And Lelouch V. Britannia from Code Geass blurs the lines between hero and villain, taking on an empire not just for justice, but for revenge, in a complex portrayal of what it means to be a champion. Writing a champion means asking, what's the cause they're fighting for? What sacrifices are they willing to make? And when does their pursuit of justice cross the line? Champions fight external battles, but what happens when the war is internal? That's where the Self-Saboteur comes in. The Self-Saboteur is at war with themselves. Their story thrives on internal conflict, self-destructive tendencies, and the struggle to reconcile who they are with who they want to be. John Wick may be an unstoppable assassin, but beneath the gunfire, his story is one of grief and self-destruction. A man unable to escape the darkness of his past. Yuji Itadori from Jujutsu Kaisen fights an inner battle just as fierce as any external one, questioning his identity as he grapples with Sukuna's influence. And BoJack Horseman? He's a heartbreaking example of the self-saboteur, sabotaging relationships and opportunities as he wrestles with his deepest fears and insecurities. Writing a self-saboteur means diving into their psyche. What's holding them back from change? What fears or flaws keep them stuck? These protagonists compel us because their biggest enemy is often themselves. And while self-saboteurs are trapped in their own minds, escapists are trapped by the world around them. Their fight? Break free. The escapist is driven by the need to escape from captivity, oppression, or danger. Their story thrives in high-stakes, urgent narratives, where freedom is the ultimate goal. In The Shawshank Redemption, Andy Dufresne doesn't just escape a corrupt prison system. He reclaims his dignity and hope in the process, showing the power of quiet resilience. Kaiji Ito in Kaiji Ultimate Survivor faces constant life-or-death gambles, where every escape is a testament to his wit and desperate ingenuity. And Shell from Portal brings an entirely different energy, navigating Gladios' labyrinthine traps with sheer determination and a knack for thinking outside the box. Writing an escapist means understanding their desperation. What are they escaping from? What risk are they willing to take? And what does freedom mean for them once they achieve it? Now, escapists run from danger. Saviors run towards it, driven by the need to protect others, no matter the cost. The savior is the rescuer, stepping up to save someone else. Their story thrives in narratives where hope, sacrifice, and redemption take center stage. Marlin's journey in Finding Nemo is a story of love and courage, as he crosses an entire ocean to save his son, Nemo, while growing as a father along the way. Phoenix Wright in Ace Attorney challenges this archetype in the courtroom, tirelessly fighting to uncover the truth and rescue his clients from wrongful accusations. And V from Arcane, she's a classic savior, driven by her instinct to protect those she loves. From her childhood efforts to shield her family, to the present-day conflicts that arise as she tries to save her sister Jinx while navigating her bond with Caitlyn, V's story captures the emotional and moral complexities of putting others first, no matter the cost. Writing a savior means asking, who are they saving? Why does it matter? And what are they willing to sacrifice to succeed? And finally, we come to the Transcender, the protagonist who isn't just chasing survival, connection, or justice, but transformation. The Transcender is all about rising above limitations and becoming something greater. These protagonists thrive in stories about ambition, personal growth, and the cost of transformation. Ash Ketchum in Pokemon chases his dream of becoming a Pokemon master, growing stronger and wiser with every battle. Izuku Midoriya from My Hero Academia is the quintessential Transcender, transforming himself into a hero capable of saving everyone while constantly pushing beyond his limits. And then there's Light Yagami from Death Note, whose Transcender arc twists into a cautionary tale, as his ambition to rise above humanity drives him towards a god complex, and his eventual downfall. Writing a Transcender means exploring their ambition. What's holding them back? What are they striving to become? And is the cost of transformation worth it? I'm sure you can think of examples who fit all of these, and I'd love to hear about them in the comments. I'd also love to hear which one is your favorite to follow. But before you do, there's a little something I should address before you get typing. Hybrids. You might be thinking, what if my protagonist doesn't fit neatly into just one archetype? That's totally normal. In fact, well-written characters often blend elements from multiple roles. The key is to pick one archetype as the main driver of your story, the central one that defines them, and then layer in others as subtle accents that feed into that core struggle. For example, if your protagonist is primarily a champion fighting injustice, adding a lover element doesn't replace their main role, it enhances it. Now, each battle isn't just about crushing the bad guys, but about protecting someone they care about, adding emotional depth without losing the core champion identity. Think of it as a recipe. The main archetype is your main ingredient, and the secondary archetypes are seasoning that brings out richer flavors. There's no need to force a perfect fit. Just keep one archetype front and center, and let the others serve it. I'll dive deeper into the multi-role characters in the future, so stay tuned. In the meantime, if you want to learn more about the 8 universal conflicts that power these archetypes, check out the Story Mark Plotting Method PDF in the description.